Hello, everyone. Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah.
I like that. I made everybody, that was a forced self-silencing. We were silenced.
Mm,
Great.
yeah.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, tonight. Excellent. We are not silent tonight. Okay. So I just want to welcome everyone here tonight to a Monday night webinar. We haven't done one of these in a little while, feeling a little rusty, so you'll have to be patient with us. And but before I dive into tonight's topic, that I'm really interested in what we're going to talk about tonight. So I'm glad that we've got quite a few people here tonight. But just to get us started, I'll pass it over to Mark Lawrence from the Bill Nelms Pain and Research Center.
Well, thanks, Madeline. Yeah, just welcome to everybody. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, like Madeline said, we haven't done one of these in a while. So um, just a few basic sort of house rules. We look at this as what we call a group medical visit. So we would just appreciate everybody being respectful of one another. That way people feel comfortable to ask questions. There are no silly questions, and yeah, just be kind to one another. Madeline's going to talk about somatic tracking tonight. I'm going to let her tell you more about that.
I'm going to talk about self-silencing tonight.
Self-silencing. Oh, you're going to talk about
That's
self-silencing.
you're a week ahead of me.
Oh, it's on the calendar. Okay, you're right. Sorry, I'm a week ahead of you. You're going to talk about self-silencing. Okay. We should also talk about some of the changes I think you wanted to talk about coming up to the
Mhm.
website, and maybe we should have a chat about that. So,
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's just some things that are coming up. We have a webinar tonight, and then we have one next week that we're going to be talking about somatic tracking, like Mark said, which is a very, it's counterintuitive, but it is a very useful tool, especially for to practice for the classes that are going to be coming up in September, October. So I highly recommend next week. The other thing that is happening, many of you know that we're actually moving over to, uh, for a number of reasons, over to a new platform with Haley and Dr. Noah Alexander. How many of you, if you want to pop in the chat, have you been in a class with Haley and Noah yet? Let me know if you have been to any of their classes. Yes, okay, we've got a few people, several,
mhm.
many. Oh, okay, awesome. So if you have been to one of their classes, you don't have to worry about being transferred over because you've already been referred over to their program. And but if you haven't and you want to continue on, we're moving on to a platform called painrecovery.ca. Um, so we can, there's a big need to be filled, as you guys know, out there. And there's other conditions that are coming into on in our classes. So the classes have to be smaller. So we have to provide more of them, basically. And so this Wednesday night at 6, Mark and Haley and I are going to do an info session for anyone else who wants to make sure that they get referred to the new program at the end of August. Um, yeah, Mark, what do you have to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, the idea sort of came about. Dr. Alexander did a rotation through our Kelowna clinic. We got to know and meet him. This idea kind of germinated from there. He and his partner Haley are highly motivated. She's a physical therapist to provide and help with some of the online pain education, so much so that he's developed a platform to bring services not only to our patients here in the interior, but also the lower mainland. Um, they've put a lot of effort into it. They are young, interesting, dynamic, and I think it'll be a great addition to what we've been doing and build on what we've been doing because I mean, we can't, between the two of us, do it all. And so this I see as a great expansion of the services. The changes that Madeleine had alluded to in September, there are some restrictions that the medical services plan has brought in as to the size of the groups that we can do. So in order to address this head on, I think the timing of the platform is great. We will have to do more groups, which will have to be smaller. So that's just really the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah.
But I look forward to a more enhanced, greater variety of services actually being offered. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
not, yeah. And we know these people, we've worked with them, they're great,
Mm-hmm.
you know. It's been
Yeah, and of
fantastic.
course, a number of people here have as well.
Hmm.
We will be recording the info session, and we are recording tonight as well. But yeah, they don't record their classes. You're right. And moving into September, October, we won't be able to record classes, so we're still going to do it tonight. Um, so we won't be doing the webinars through Bill Nelms. See a few of the questions. This is what we're going to talk about on Wednesday. But once you're referred there, the you'll be signing up online. You'll be doing all those things online,
Hmm.
just through a different calendar, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And Peter and everybody else, just go into the class calendar on the Bill Nelms website and for the class on Wednesday night, and just make sure you register for it. And if you're registered, you will get a recording, Nancy. Don't worry, Rhonda. A lot of people haven't taken those classes just simply because it doesn't work for them, or they don't want to go to those classes. It's totally okay.
Hmm.
It's totally okay. You don't have to have done that. I am going to be doing some classes, Christine, and I'll talk about this more on Wednesday because I'm going to be doing a lot of classes about what we're going to talk about tonight and next week. Um, oh,
Yeah.
okay, Liz, I didn't know that. They provide worksheets. Absolutely. Oh, that's right. She said that. And a 5-minute recording of a meditation. Lovely. Lovely. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think just to sort of reassure our patients, what I see is an expansion of our services rather than
Hmm.
anything else, and just working with people that we know and we really get along and jive well with, who are very, very motivated. And it's also nice to get a different perspective, a different take, you know. As I say, Haley is a qualified physical therapist. She has a huge amount to offer us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Noah as a pain doc also has a huge amount to offer, which is great. I look
Yeah.
forward to sharing and working with them.
And we'll still be popping in and doing some classes too.
Hmm.
So we'll be a part of it, but we just won't be leading it as we have been. As many of you have been with us for a few years, we've been around for a few years now, and we don't plan on disappearing. So hopefully you can make it Wednesday. Okay.
Okay,
Yes, let's dive into tonight's topic.
okay. Turn that over to you.
Okay, great. I do have some slides tonight, just to keep myself on track, um, just so that I don't go off in 10 different directions. And I will keep an eye on the chat box where we'll be able to ask questions. So tonight, a lot of the classes that I have taught through the clinic, if you've taken some with me around emotional awareness and expression, um, there's a lot of research around the connection between emotions and pain. In fact, they're part of the same bundle almost, but they express in a different way. And the therapy called emotional expression and awareness and expression therapy has a lot of research behind it to show that when we are able to feel what we feel and express it in some way, shape, or form, that it can be really helpful for our pain. And so I've been down that track for quite a while now. And until I ran across some time ago this term self silencing. And this is the term that's used a lot in the research field, in the field of chronic pain, for exactly what it says, for learning, as you may have throughout your life, to silence yourself. And so that is what we're going to talk about tonight. And then I'm going to offer you some ways to slowly start easing up the maybe tension or resistance or avoidance in your own body that might be contributing to physical pain. So it's the term they use is self-silencing, but I really want to make it clear that this is not always a conscious choice that, okay, I'm going to silence myself. So it's not something that you've done wrong. It's not something that often you're even doing on purpose, but it is actually a product, I believe, of our culture, of maybe our family, our upbringing, of the education system, so many things. But tonight, what I really want you to do, if it fits for you, is just to sit back and take in the information, and you'll start to notice. You will start to notice in your own life where you silence yourself, because I think we all do in some way. All right, so let's do as we always do as when we're coming into class, because I'm like a horse out of the gate already, is just pause, everyone, join in, and wherever you are, if you're lying down or if you're sitting in a chair, and even if you're standing up, maybe you're even cooking dinner, and just start by taking a deeper, slower breath in. So just slow your breath down. You might stay still if you're moving. Breathe into your belly, into your chest, and then a long exhale. Allow yourself to land right here in your body, right here in your room, right here in the most comfortable place for you tonight. See what that feels like. And take a second breath. Long, slow, all the way up to the top of your head. And let gravity bring your energy down, 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 right down to the soles of your feet, grounding you right here in this moment. And then one more deeper, slower breath. And even let it out with a sigh or a sound. Loosen your jaw, your shoulders, or just bringing our awareness, if it's possible, out of what might be a busy mind, just to slow it down a little bit, bring it into your body a little bit, if possible. And from here, just take a look around your room. I always like to do this just to look around to the corners of your room. So you're moving your eyes. And when we move our eyes, we trigger our vagus nerve, which helps our body flip from a stress response into more of a relaxation response. So we're moving our eyes away from the screen and then allow them to come back softly and rest on the screen. Find a position that's maybe 10% more comfortable for you, if you can. Good. Okay, now let's dive in. So we've talked about the two Monday night webinars and the info session. Valerie, you can't see it in the calendar. Oh, okay. Oops. I will try to get that for you by the end of class. Great. So just ask yourself this, and you can pop a yes or no in the chat if you want to. Have you ever revealed a truth about, oh, thanks, Jessica. Awesome. Love you guys. You're so helpful. Have you ever revealed a truth about yourself to someone? Maybe someone you trusted, hopefully. And when they said, "Oh, I get it," or "Oh, me too," you feel incredibly relieved. You feel something feels different. You feel like you're not alone. Let me know if that's ever happened to you. And yeah, good. Have you ever felt that you must be the only one going through something, or you're the only one that's gone through something, and you feel alone in it, you feel disconnected, or maybe you think, my feelings don't about it don't really matter anyway. Or maybe you walk on eggshells, not expressing yourself around certain people, certain topics you try to avoid, or even certain places that remind you of things or that bring up some feeling for yourself in yourself. Thank you. Okay, so if you're out with a group, this is just another little inquiry for you. If someone asks where the group wants to go for dinner, you're with a few people, do you figure out what you really feel like and express it? Or do you kind of go back and say, well, I'll just, whatever everybody else, what does everybody else want? Or you might state your preference, but you're willing to bend. And again, there's no right or wrong answer to one, two, or three. Willing to bend, or it might be a few of them depending on the group. Tend to go to the group, but I'm trying to assert myself. Francois 3, depends on the group. Willing to bend, maybe too much. Okay, just for your own information, I wonder what it would feel like to figure out, I actually really want sushi tonight. Putting your hand up and saying, well, I want to go for sushi. You can just ask that into yourself. What does it feel like to really express yourself into a group? Now, sometimes when we do that, we feel like, wow, that's too self-centered, or that's selfish, or, sometimes our conditioning comes up around that. Sometimes a little bit, sometimes a lot. So, what is this thing called self-silencing? I think you can guess. You guys are smart. But why does it matter for pain? Now, here's where I started to get really interested. So, self-silencing is when we hold back from sharing our thoughts, our ideas, our opinions, our perspectives, because we fear the potential consequences. And that might be conflict. It might be a sense of that person's not going to like me, or they're going to attack me verbally, or they're going to leave me. Like those are really quite intense consequences that may or may not happen, right? Depending on the person's situation. Maybe you downplay your own ideas, try to please other people outside of you, or have high expectations for yourself. And you end up spending a lot of time exhausted from taking care of others or just trying to keep up. It doesn't always feel right, but you're not sure what else to do. And these are just some definitions. So, self silencing is the belief that the experience and the expression of negative emotions or of an opposing viewpoint are unacceptable, or you're just afraid to do it. And it's associated with increased fatigue, depression, anxiety, and also pain. So there is a time to be silent. There's no question. Doesn't mean that we just go out there and tell everybody what we think and how angry we are at the things that they've done from, 10 years ago. There is a time to be silent out of choice. So sometimes we choose, we don't want to get into that political argument, or we don't really feel like addressing that, or just don't have the energy to participate in something. That's that's totally that's great. And sometimes it's very wise to just check in with yourself and just realize, you know what, this one is not worth tackling, right? But if it's done in fear and it's a long-standing pattern, that is more along the lines of self-silencing. But don't worry, because if that is you, and in my experience of working with people, it is many, many people for different reasons. You can slowly start to come out while building safety in your body. So for many people, and somebody alluded to it already, it ends up being a shedding of long held patterns learned in your family, in school, or just in our society, in the culture that we live in. And for many, there's often two different sets of conditioning, not always, but for men and for women, like based on gender. Often for men, it's not being able to express sadness or guilt or shame or cry, some of maybe the softer emotions. And maybe for women, and this is not black and white, it's not always the case, it's more of the people pleasing, more of the keeping the peace and swallowing emotions like anger or various forms of anger like assertiveness, maybe regrets or sadness, and not setting boundaries. So the ways that we behave are often what we've been taught was good and bad at home or in our culture. For example, maybe you were taught that, anger is not okay, or anger was dangerous or explosive. You're going to learn very quickly how to tiptoe around the energy of anger because that's a wise thing to do when you're younger. And also, it may be if you're in a relationship or at a workplace where there's a power dynamic, you're also going to be wise around that. Because where there's power dynamics involved, sometimes we move a little bit more stealthily, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Um, if you have a boss that you just can't speak back to, and if you tread on that ground, you're going to get fired, but you need the money to feed your kids, you're damn right you're going to be self-silencing. You're not going to be expressing everything. And at the same time, as you become aware of it and you know that this is probably not good for you, you might start navigating your way to a different job. Okay. You might also have learned that so anger is bad, or on the opposite end, I'd love to know if any of you learned don't be too proud, don't be too excited, don't be too loud, don't be too full of yourself, or the opposite end, don't be quiet, don't be shy. You got to speak more. So we're always taking in these messages like, how should I behave? When we're growing up, and looking to the external, to the people around us for cues on how to behave. So sometimes it's squishing anger down, and sometimes it's actually squishing down joy and excitement. My dog just making noises as I said that. So things that are not felt, like emotions that come up that are not felt, or ideas or opinions, They move from the emotional body into the physical body and can feed in to the stress response of trying to keep them inside when you're really feeling them or you swallow them can contribute to chronic pain. So, and it's the avoidance that causes stress and sometimes shame and some pain conditions. It's really been in the research that I've done. A lot of it is associated with well, there was one study they did on lower back pain that was made better by expressing the emotions and reducing the fear in the body around emotions. And the other part of the body that seems to be really affected is IBS, like irritable bowel or inflammatory bowel disease. So the stomach, which also made a lot of sense to me when we swallow things and we try to digest them. We stomach them, literally. So Ina says, I think that with pain, who wants to listen to my issues in a friendship type setting? I am silent out of choice. Right. So you're aware of it and you're making a choice that maybe you're not comfortable or this is, I don't feel like I want to express myself here. And with that, just make sure that you're not minimizing how you really feel. We're going to talk about that. That you can be honest and truthful with yourself rather than actually just even pretending to yourself that everything's okay. Because it's okay to say to yourself, my pain is really high today. I'm suffering. I'm having a really hard time. And to sometimes even acknowledging that to yourself um, might be a very compassionate thing to do. I'm really suffering right now. I'm having a hard time today. And then you really do want to go meet your friends for coffee and you don't express it there because maybe in that choice, you just want to go and talk about other things. So that's perfectly okay. Yeah, there's nothing wrong about that. Yes, Melissa, or express it in a safe environment because you don't want the added stress that from some people of having it, backfire or somebody doesn't believe you or they say things like, well, you think you've got it bad, let me tell you a story. Yeah. So you're going to know because you're wise where to express. So self-silencing is not wrong, but it just might not always be helpful anymore. We are naturally going to avoid conflict as a coping strategy, especially if there has been any, as I said before, power dynamic or a history of emotional abuse, whether as you're growing up or maybe you've gone through relationships or in a relationship. It's really, really natural and normal to avoid those types of conflicts. And maybe, maybe you've been trying to change that dynamic or change the other person and it hasn't worked, and that's exhausting. Maybe turning towards yourself and starting now to feel safer in your own body. And this is by acknowledging to yourself how you feel without self denial, rather than being in a flight freeze response, will help you not only find your voice, but it will also help you manage pain. So if you're in a relationship like that and you think, well, easy for you to say, you're not in my situation and I'm not going to express to this person. That's totally fine. You honor yourself, you honor your choices, and you can also get really truthful with yourself and make decisions from there. Somebody mentioned gaslighting, and you might have been gaslit by other people. And we also sometimes gaslight ourselves. And the beauty is that we can start to notice that. And there's many, many examples and a lot of research around that too. Nicole Sachs, I've talked about her before. Sachs, Sachs, and she teaches something called journal speak, and she talks about this specifically to do with chronic pain, about becoming really honest with yourself in journaling, in writing on the page, just letting it out, not even worrying, editing, or anything else about exactly how you feel. You have already broken the spell of self-silencing by doing that. So the thing that I see when I see, things out there that say, well, just say it, or just say no, or just set a boundary, as if it's an easy thing. I i have to say, it doesn't start in your voice, it begins in the body, because we can blurt things out. And sometimes that's what the situation calls for, when you're breaking through self silencing. And I think it's in the next slide. Um, Sometimes because we're not coming from a place of safety and groundedness and confidence, sometimes that can send you into a spiral of fear. Like, oh my God, I just said that. And now what? So we're really preparing our voices through our bodies. So starting with some sense of safety. And many of our classes that you guys have been in, really, the movement, the breath work, they all work on this, building this sense of safety versus danger, which is pain in your body. So, with what you might be doing there, you start to make a connection with your body and what you are feeling without judgment. I'd love for you to sense into yourself right now in this moment and just see, without any good, bad, right, wrong, just curiosity, what are you feeling right now? And if there's one emotion that you came up with, what would it be? Chances are there's a few, because we're human. That's the way we work. Would you? Thank you, Liz. Stressed. I feel stressed. I feel stressed right now. Awesome. Not awesome that you're stressed, but awesome that awareness. I feel stressed. I feel stressed. I feel sad. Mm. I feel disappointed. I'm sad. Okay. Does anybody have, thank you, pessimistic, Jean? Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Anxious. And along with those emotions, is there anything else? I feel sad. Okay. Kim says, I want to have a better attitude. I want to be more grateful for what I still can do. I want to not go into depression out of fear. I will never feel better on the hard days. I want to stop being so hard on myself. I want to stop feeling alone. I know you're all out there. Okay. So Kim, I am going to invite you, because you just gave me a really good, a good starting point. So if I can, I just want to point out, I love all the things that you want. I do. I love them. And at the same time, we can't get there without starting right here. So right now, there might be, I don't know, Kim, there might be some stress there. And there might also be hope there in this moment. And as we start, really, it might just be as simple as that, as noticing what you feel right now. bit of an upset stomach. Well said. Yeah, mindfulness meditation. Okay. So we don't have to make sense of anything that we're feeling right now. Remember that all of your emotions make sense. They all have there's a need behind them, and there's nothing wrong with you for feeling them. And that is like our starting point. Okay, you don't have to make sense of it, and we're just becoming aware. So, do you have an idea? This is the number of emotions that we can possibly have access to. There's a lot. There's a lot. Okay. And they all have a different feeling, they all have a different purpose. Do you know already which emotions for you are unacceptable or frightening? Maybe you learned they were bad, maybe even disgusting. You're not allowed to have them or not okay to have. Are there any that you were not allowed to have? Because then we have a better idea of what might be silenced. So when you're showing up somewhere with a friend, or just in your family or in a relationship, there are certain, okay, and this is anger and sadness. Yes, okay. So there might be some reclamation there for you, because I will tell you, when your life has been changed by chronic pain, there is going to be sadness. And that is might pave the way, that grief sometimes paves the way for something new to now come forth. Bad and sad. Yeah. Okay. Weakness, not allowed to show this. Right. And I wonder, would weakness be sadness? Would it be worry? Joy? Interesting. Okay. Depressed. No strong feelings about anything. All right. So this might be the things that you wrote there. This might be the reclamation, and sometimes we have a fear that, if I do feel sad, I'm never going to feel happy again. And that's actually not true. It's actually the opposite. That if I'm trying to silence sadness, keep it down, I'm less likely to find happy. So whatever you're feeling is fine. And when you allow it to move through you in waves, um, research shows that it lasts for about 90 seconds per wave. 90 seconds per wave. Many of the emotions under fearful and sadness. Okay. So just be aware of that. Again, nobody's done anything wrong here. You're all probably very good learners. You did the wisest thing that we do. So when we bypass our feelings, we start to kind of like, I want to give you an example of, we divide ourselves in half. So we've got these feelings here, and then we're acting in a different way. So we create something called cognitive dissonance. You might have heard that. And it causes this unease, this stress, and it's very exhausting. And the antidote is to become a little more friendly with what we fear. So, as an example, when Mary began simply talking about her anger with a trusted friend, she actually began to have a more positive view of anger. So we start to dig out, what we have been silencing, and just become aware of it. We don't have to even do anything about it. We don't have to take it on like a project, but we start to notice, how have I learned to avoid? That's a good question. Isn't anger a secondary emotion? Sometimes it is. In fact, often it is. It can be a lid for grief and sadness and worry and helplessness. We get angry, but it also can be anger in itself as a primary emotion. And anger is a protective emotion. So if somebody comes up to my child and starts threatening my child, I'm going to instantly get angry because I'm in protection mode, right? And that's like a pure anger. But sometimes and often, when I'm talking about anger with people or we're doing some breath work around anger, what comes up? A lot of tears because we've been holding them in our lungs for so long under the lid of anger. It's often helplessness, Margaret, you're right. So, what avoidance techniques maybe you've learned? Maybe you stay busy to avoid how you feel. Nothing wrong with any of these things. They're coping mechanisms, they're survival techniques. Maybe you focus on other people, it's easier. People pleasing. Maybe you repress, that explode. Or you just internalize it. It's all my fault. Because sometimes that feels more in control. Maybe you change the uncomfortable topics quickly or avoid eye contact. Do you know any avoidance technique that you use? All of the above. All of the above. Okay. All right. So again, we don't have to unwind or unravel or undo these overnight, but start to become aware when you are doing them. And that is like gold because if they're part of how you grew up, sometimes they just happen unconsciously. So just bring some awareness to that. And there's something I want you to be aware of. As you start to notice self silencing, all the ways that maybe you avoid or don't want to feel, fair enough. Be aware of something that I call toddler consciousness. I've seen this so many times. And what it is we almost go to the opposite extreme. And sometimes, we go to the opposite extreme and then we realize what we've done. And I think we've all probably done that. So we go to the opposite. We say, I'm just going to say it. I'm just going to like go in there and I'm just going to like say it at this meeting or I'm to this person. I'm just going to give it to them. Or yelling boundaries out of fear, right? Like, and sometimes we just do that. It's like an uncontrolled temper tantrum. In other words, emotions that have been so pent up for so long, just it's like I say toddler consciousness, and that is not to be condescending at all, but it's like, this is what I want, and I want it now. And all this means is that you have actually bypassed the feeling of it and went straight to expression. So if you're getting really angry because you're not being listened to, say you just keep feeling like you're ignored and you're not being listened, and you just explode like, nobody listens to me. Nobody listens to me around here. That has come out as an expression, may or may not be true. But what were you feeling just before that? You might start to notice in your body, oh, I'm getting tense if you slow it down. I'm starting to feel really angry. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of breathing. What is this about? What is going on here? Oh, I'm feeling ignored. I'm feeling like nobody ever listens to me. That's what's going on here. And the moment you catch that awareness and you stay with it without silencing or exploding, then that's the moment of choice where you might say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to walk around the block and just, before I literally flip my lid and I'm come back. And then you might come back and you might realize, oh, they were all just having a good time and it really didn't have anything to do with me. Or you might realize that, no, they actually weren't listening to you. And you do need to say something. Yeah, like you do need to come in and say, hey guys, like I've got something really important to say here. So listen up. So you get that? This is the thing about self-silencing. We don't want to go right into explosion because we've probably already done that. It's relatable, being there, done that. An emotional hangover throughout my body. Yes. Yeah. Take time, metabolize the emotions, and then find your voice and determine what you need. But it feels good. It does feel good to let off some steam, no question. Hey, we're all human here, right? We're all human. So every emotion is important and it points towards a need. Anger, the clarity, boundaries, feeling seen or heard, sadness, grief, letting go, readjustment, loss. So, what do I feel? What do I need? Will really help you to guide you forward. I do want to do a little exercise with you around that. So, let's see. Yeah, and then we've only got 2 more slides. So, we can do this if everybody's up for it. Let's do a little exercise around, and the reason some of you might notice this picture, it's actually a picture of the chakras in the body. So the energy centers up your spine where we find that energy kind of pools itself. And I like it as a map when it comes to self-silencing. Okay. So if everybody wants to just, again, come into your seat, especially if you feel yourself moving forward or you feel yourself like, ooh, avoidance moving back, maybe just come right back into your seat or where you're lying down. And just start again by taking some deeper breaths right down from the base of your spine all the way up. And then let it out. And then let's use that as an example, actually, that one of not feeling listened to, because I think it might be something that people can relate to. So, right now, as we just said, maybe bring up a situation or maybe just even imagine not being listened to, not being acknowledged. And so, as you notice that, you might start to feel some tension in your body. So just keep breathing now. Don't stop. And start to notice your belly. Then you might start to notice irritation. You might start to notice anger. You might just notice tension. You might notice it rising. So stay grounded and keep breathing up through your belly, through your chest. And just stay with that. Just feeling it, just noticing that's what's here right now. And then, if you stay there for a little while, but you are breathing, don't stop breathing. Eventually, something is going to rise into your throat, into your voice, and come out. And you can have anger in your body and be breathing in a relaxed state. So, for the purposes of this exercise, just see what the anger wants to say, what it wants to tell you, and maybe what it wants to tell someone else. So, when we stay in this place of noticing, I'm still safe, I'm still safe, I'm just feeling this in my body, you might choose to just go and write it out in a journal, and if it's old stuff, and get it out of you. Or you might choose to go for a walk, or you might choose to go and have a conversation with someone from a place of choice. Now, you might choose to sit on that and chew it for a little bit longer. And that might be the wise thing to do. And that's, I think, what I really want to emphasize. Through this webinar, you might have noticed some things that have come up. So just, tuck them away, make a note. Hey, I'm going to be aware. I'm going to start noticing this now in myself. Because in my experience, it's a long, it's a, it- you know, it's a lifelong journey. This, I think, for everyone, especially, if you do suffer with chronic pain. Okay. So start slowly with this whole thing. Feel and express what you feel just to yourself. Feel and express what you feel to another person that you trust. Now be careful of this. No, careful is not the right word. But notice if you get into a repetitive story rather than going into the emotion. So I might get in a story about something that somebody did to me, a year ago. It's fine. But then come out of the story and notice how you feel. I feel really angry. I feel sad. I feel betrayed. No, that's where you want to notice that. And this is what I would have liked to have said to them. Maybe feel and express. The third part is feel, express what you feel where you most need to. That might be now, it might be a year from now, it might be 5 years from now, when you feel that you are safe enough. And what I mean by that is confident enough in your body. Then it'll just come out. The more you become aware of this, the more you will naturally start to address it in your own life. So honor your emotions and prioritize your own needs. Here's how you can break the cycle of self-silencing. Through writing and journaling, feeling, breathing, noticing, naming. You might express through art, talking with a friend or therapist, or even sometimes just recording yourself talking, and then you just delete it afterwards because you just want to express it, right? And the last thing I'll say about this for tonight, you just to start noticing and start to define yourself instead of what other people think about you. Instead of what other people will think about you. And that could be a webinar in itself. And start looking, and number 2 is own your choices. Start looking at what you do and what you say, and notice where you're doing it because you think that you should. That's what I should do because it's nice or it's a good thing to do. And look at your deeper motivations. Do you really want to do this? Why or why not? So we're bringing in awareness. And then the very last thing, you'll notice this was not number 1. Use your voice to share your opinions. Simply sharing. This is what I think. And let go of the outcome. Start small. The more you share of yourself, the easier it will get. I guess one of the crucial things is to not, if you can, work on not worrying about what other people think about you. That's a big piece of self-silencing. Okay, so we've gone through a lot tonight, and you will get the recording, but I'm really curious in the last 5 minutes or so, what is coming up for people? Do you see areas that that you want to just become more aware of? And are there certain emotions that, maybe you want to just kind of note or journal about a little bit? Absolutely, Kim. Chronic pain is not who you are. No, In fact, one exercise might be to, to write that down. Chronic pain is here. It's what I have. But then I'm all these other things. Maybe you're a mother. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you're a musician. Maybe you cook. Maybe there's a lot of other things. Um, what others think of me makes a huge impact. That might even be the number one. Worrying about what other people think of us. A little thing to think about tonight is just to imagine what you would feel like or how you would move through your life if you weren't worried about what other people thought of you, and just see what that would feel like. I've started this, but had guilty feelings at first. I was a real people pleaser. I'm learning to please myself. Yes, I love that. Yeah, that is not selfish. That it might be the best thing you can do for yourself and everyone else. You're doing everyone a favor, Marjorie. On the comment, verbally journaling can be beneficial. I thought you had to physically handwrite things to get the benefit. Yeah, um, that's an interesting one, Christine. And I just kind of found that sort of by accident myself when I was walking and I had something that was spinning around inside of me and I knew I needed to get out. And so I thought I wanted to remind myself later to write it. And I started recording myself and I just went right into it. And then I deleted it. And honestly, it was done. So yeah. You can own your own truth, 100%. You get to write your story. You get to own the truth of who you are. No one else gets to. They might think they do, but the challenge there is to not even pay that any attention. It's not your job to convince other people who you are. It's only your job to be who you are. Yeah. And it's not your job to defend who you are. So this is a big topic, eh? And in October on the new platform, I'll be teaching a course where we're going to go through this a little bit more, the emotional awareness therapy part of it, because I have a sneaking suspicion that it has a big impact on pain, and it's not just a suspicion. They're really starting to realize that in the research as well. So yeah, start small, start safe, and just start with acknowledging to yourself that it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is what I am feeling. And sometimes that in itself, acknowledging the anger, sometimes it doesn't make you angry. Sometimes it can, believe it or not, make you feel quite joyful. Because it's like, oh, I just noticed anger. Yeah, I'm angry. All right then. It's much healthier than stuffing it down. What anyone thinks of me is not my business. That's right, it's not my business. My self-silencing is definitely linked to my pain. Okay. Okay, awesome, awesome awareness. Let's begin everyone tonight, all right? Yeah. Okay. Good luck with this. It's beautiful self-care, self-nurturing to just really start acknowledging and just for yourself. Okay, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. And I hope to see you again next Monday. We're going to pick up on this, and then we're going to start moving into somatic tracking. Good. Oh, Wednesday too. Sorry for the info session. Did you get that link? Valerie was looking for it. Hopefully. Okay, good. Maybe see you Wednesday. All right. Bye for now. Thanks, everyone.